Hello, today we're going to be going over our Platinum Salem FXX model number 290 RTKX, and we're going to be starting right up front here with our tongue jack. Basically with the tongue jack, this is how we get on and off the tow vehicle, but this is also how we level the camper from front to back. I do like to recommend while you're still hooked to the tow vehicle, make sure you're level from side to side first. You may have to put some blocks down to try to level from the side to side, but use the tow vehicle to roll onto those blocks. They do have little levels you can buy. You can stick on the front, on the side of the coach. But we usually like to recommend a carpenter's level right inside the doorway when you're trying to do your level from side to side and front to back. Once you've got the side to side, you're good and level, then you would unhook from the tow vehicle, pull away, and then you're gonna level front to back with this guy here. Pretty much it's gonna be your lower button down here. Our upper button is just a little light, so if you had to hook up at night, you can kind of be able to see. And then it does also have the option for a manual crank, which is going to be located in your storage compartment. Once you've done the side to side, the front to back, we're all good and leveled, then you're going to lower those stabilizer jacks. We're going to show you that when we get towards the back of the coach because the ones up in front here are just a little more difficult to get to. All right, next, after that, we're going to have our two 20-pound propane tanks. These guys have both been filled, minus what was used to test the propane system with. But then this guy here is going to be our regulator. Basically with this regulator, it tells us a couple of different things. One, it tells us when the tank is empty. So like right now, it's not getting no propane flow, so it's reading red. I'm going to turn this here so you guys can kind of see that. There's a little notch right here. This guy actually tells you what tank you're pointing at and what tank it's going to be drawing from. So basically when I go to turn this guy on, as you see, it immediately flipped to green for that propane flow. This regulator is really nice. It's actually designed to where you can have both tanks on. Once the one tank has been emptied, it will start drawing from the other tank. The only thing is that you're not going to know that this tank is empty unless you come out here and look at this regulator, okay? Because it will be basically reading red because it's pointing at a tank that's empty, but it would still draw from the other tank. When that happens, just turn your guy here to the tank that it's pulling from, remove the other one, and go get it refilled if possible. Then back behind here is going to be where our battery is located. Inside this box is just a 24 series deep cycle marine RV style battery, standard. They just made this guy a little larger, so there's a larger box on here. So if you wanted to upgrade the battery, you are able to do so. And then back along here is going to be where your battery disconnect is located. With this guy here, whenever you're storing the camper, you're going to turn this guy and pull that key out. Basically what it's doing is it's allowing anything that was left on would not potentially drain the battery on you. But whenever you're using your coach or you're pulling it down the road, you want this guy in that on position. So that way it's charging that battery as we're going down the road. When you're hooked to Shore Power, it's charging that battery for you. One other thing to note real quick here is that your front jack here does, your foot here will extend down. There's 4 holes. Usually that's helped to extend that guy out when you go to get on and off the camper. Makes it a lot easier. Next, we're going to have a pass-through storage compartment. Basically on the other side, you're going to see a couple of things there. You're going to have a big bag there. That's not really a bag. That's actually like it has magnets on the edges, and it's like a screen door for your back ramp or slash deck area. You do have a cable style system slide. Generally, it does tell you how to do a little bit of fine tuning if it needed to be done. A lot of times though, that's usually going to be more of a tech area. This guy here, you got a pretty decent sized compartment here where you can actually almost store your fishing poles if you wanted to. Right underneath there is where our sewer hookup is going to be. So basically, you're going to have your black handle for the black tank and your gray handle for the gray tank. Right now, these guys are in the open position. That's going to be closed. So whenever you go to dump, you're going to hook up your sewer hose. You'll have a clear elbow on the end. We're not trying to look at our nastiness, but that's going to be basically designed so you can see when the water's coming out clear when you use your black tank flush. That is actually located on the other side. We'll talk about a little bit about that when we get over there. But one thing you always want to do is you're always going to do black first and then gray. Never leave the valves open. A lot of people will usually hook up their sewer hose and just leave those valves open. You do not want to do that. You always want to make sure there's some kind of liquid in the bottom of that tank, especially your black tank, and you're going to have some kind of cleaning chemical in there as well. It's a deodorizer and helps everything break down. This little black tube underneath there, that's going to be where you can store your sewer hose. When the slide room's closed, you can obviously easily access it a lot easier, but you can also access it from the other side as well. Next, we're going to have where your power cord will hook up. 50 amp power cord does come with the coach. And then this guy here is where you're going to hook up for your city water. It is always recommended you're going to have a pressure regulator on the water spigot. From there, your options of an inline water filter, and then your blue or white water drinking hose. Hook up to this guy, you'll get water on the cold side right away. You do have to wait for the hot water heater to fill before you'll start getting water coming out of the hot side, and then you're going to turn on your switch. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here in just a few. Okay, so with your rear we're going to show you your stabilizer jacks here on the rear one. These guys are really nice little upgraded feature here. Basically, you're just going to unhook this guy, give it a couple cranks to loosen it, and then from there, you're just going to pull this guy right here and drop it down. It's going to touch, and then from there, bam, locked and done. Really nice and simple. I really enjoy these newer model ones. Just take that pressure off. Then you're going to bring this guy back up. Look, see how nice and easy that guy comes back up. Lock in that first one or second. It always does vary. And then it'll lock in tight, and then you'll re-secure this guy to keep it in case it decides to try to work itself down. You got your campground cable hookup right here. I'll show you what you got to do inside. You do have to turn off a TV antenna booster for that cable signal to come through. This guy here, there's going to be two of these. One here on the lower end. On the other side of the coach, it's going to be higher up. Pretty much you'll open these guys. You're going to let me do it from the outside. Probably not going to let me do it from the outside. But basically these guys will flip open. It allows that airflow to come through and push the air out, so that way you won't get any like the smells from your gas cans or your the gas from your toy, anything like that. Those fumes won't build up inside the coach. All right, so next we're going to have our party deck slash ramp. As you see right now, we got this all set up as your party deck style. For this guy, it's really nice and simple. But basically, once this is all brought out on the inside here, you do have a lock to where you're able to lock it. You just pull this little pin. You pull that pin down, you're able to shut and actually lock the door. But then whenever you're going to set these guys up, generally you can do it when you're on the ramp, or you can do it down below. I usually recommend doing it when you're not on the ramp, because when you're standing on that ramp, it applies extra pressure to it, and it can make it a little more difficult to release them. Basically though, there's this little black piece here right on the inside. Press that guy down, give that a little tap, and it just comes right out. This guy folds up. There is a Velcro strap up here where it comes through our fabric and will lock tight so it doesn't swing around on you. Same thing with this one. And basically that guy will ride in. So basically with your toys, depending on the size of the toy, there's a possibility you would have to probably end up removing one of these, if not both of these doors. I'll show you how to do that once we have stepped inside. These guys are actually pretty nice, or pretty darn nice. Try to see if I can't pull it in here just a little bit so you guys can maybe try to see. But basically these guys will slide right out of the hinges, so you can remove these gates so that you're able, so they ain't swinging around on you when you're trying to put your toy inside. Whenever you're ready to lower your deck so you can put your toy inside, you're going to slightly lift this so there isn't no pressure on here. Pull this pin. As you see, that cable will just sit down to the side. You do that on both sides, then the ramp will come all the way down so that you're able to put your side-by-side in, or your motorcycles, or whatever your toy may be. Our water coming off is our condensation from the air conditioners. Basically, you're going to have your back door or your door to get into the back side of your party living area. We'll talk more about that once we are inside. So here's actually a nice, really good example right here. So with your steps, set these guys right here. These guys just sit and lock right in. When the door is closed, it keeps it secure so it isn't bouncing down the road. But then you got these guys here. You're able to adjust the feet. Okay, the reason for that is because when these guys are down, and I'm trying to recreate this issue that we just had. But basically, you want to make sure this is going to be as flat with the threshold as possible. Too much of an elevation can cause issues to both the screen door and the entry door if you're not careful. So you always just want to make sure those guys are nice, flush, and flat. All right, so we do have a couple different sets of keys here. So I tried to help you because your two entry door keys here are both the purple keys. So what I did is I went ahead and colored one with a Sharpie there, and I wrote a B on it for the back door. But basically, you're gonna have your door handle lock that gets turned to the right, and you pull the key out, it locks the door handle. For your deadbolt, you do have to turn that to the left, you hear the click, but you're unable to pull that key out. You have to bring it back straight up and down to pull the key out. If you turn this guy to the right, you're able to pull that key out, it shows you did not lock your deadbolt. Then your other purple key is going to be for the front entry door. Then you're going to have the silver key here, or gray. That's actually going to be for the lock handles on your ramp door for whenever we get it closed up. And then you got a silver key. This is basically going to be for all your compartment doors. Basically the fridge area there, and then your front storage compartments and the little area for your, like your fishing poles and stuff. All right, next we're going to have the water heater. This guy is gas only. Whenever you are done, you do want to try to get all the water out of the coach. You would open this guy to relieve the pressure, and then you're going to take this guy out down here. This is a 1 1/16 socket, but this is your ano rod. Basically, this guy starts out the size of a dime and works itself down to the size of a coat hanger. What it's doing is it's attracting the impurities in the water, so it'll attack that rod and not your tank, because it is a steel tank. It is always important, though, you do want to try to get all the water out of the coach. All right, so next we're going to have our tires here. You always do want to make sure the lug nuts are torqued to 100 foot-pounds, and you're going to want to check these at 50, 100, and 200 miles. I always like to recommend when you're going down the road, or when we leave our campground, the first place we're going to stop is usually the gas station to refill. While you're refilling, you can check these lug nuts. You're knocking out 2 birds with 1 stone. You do also want to try to keep the tires topped off to their max PSI level. I believe these guys were a 65 PSI. Yep, 65 PSI. So always do make sure you periodically check those and make sure they are topped off. You do have the green caps on there telling us that there is nitrogen in these tires. It doesn't hurt if you put regular air on the top of them. It won't hurt nothing. If you ever decide, though, you want the nitrogen in them, you want it to, wherever you go to get them done, let them know that you've put air in them so that they can be purged. So they try to get majority of the air out. A lot of times when there's nitrogen in there, it's usually anywhere between 95 to 98% nitrogen, and then that remainder is still going to be air. So you usually can't get all of it out, but they try to get most of it. We got our outside speakers on. Our outside speakers, the lights are on because they're tied in with our awning lights. There's that other vent that I was telling you about. You're able to bring a TV outside. You got 110 hooked up and a TV hookup right here. So then we're going to have our little outside kitchen kind of area here. Basically, you got your stove piece here. You're not supposed to come out there yet. And this is all the way out. This actually folds down to keep it from going back in on you. From there, your hose here goes around and will connect right down here. Right now, this is in an off position. Once you get your hose hooked up, you would turn this to allow the airflow to come through. And then from there, you're just going to turn this guy right here till a spark ignites. Nice thing is you can actually take this guy off, be able to see when the flames light, and then set your griddle on top. I will recommend that before you go to use this guy, you do want to look up online on like how to season a Blackstone. Basically, it's going to be the same concept, but you want to season this before you use it. And then you got your drip tray for the grease. Up above is where our outside mini fridge is going to be located. You can adjust the temperature for that guy. But this is a 110 only, so the Sure Power, you do have to be plugged into Sure Power for this to have power. Alright, while we're still right here, as you see, it's labeled low point drains. So you're going to have two of them right here, red and a blue, one for hot, one for cold. Basically, once again, when you're done camping, you want to get all that water out of the lines. I always recommend taking these caps off. Open up a bathroom faucet, make sure to plug in inside it, but as you go home, the air is going to blow through those lines, push any excess water out for you so that water wouldn't be left in the lines where it becomes stagnant or bad. Nice thing is oh, what are we going to do with these caps here? You take these caps off, you can put them right inside your water heater. Basically, you can set them right in here. Same with your fresh water drain cap. But then right there, they're secured. They ain't going to get lost going down the road. You got the vent for the stove. That right now it is in the open position. You do always want to make sure it's open when you are using the stove. But when you're traveling or if it's being stored, you do want to try to close that so no wasp or mud daubers like that can get inside. Same with this guy here. They have little screens that you can buy that goes over the top of this to help keep the mud daubers and wasp out. Basically, they get in there and they start building nests and they'll create issues. And we just don't want that. Here's the other side of the sewer hose I was telling you about. But then right down here is where your drain is for the fresh water tank. Basically, remove this cap and it'll start draining the water out for you. To fill your fresh water tank, that's going to be located right here. It is gravity fed, so you just stick the hose in and let it fill. Read the monitor panel inside. When it reads full, you do want to shut that water off. Overfilling it, waiting for water to shoot back out at you, over time will cause damage to both the outside of the coach and on the inside where it's connected. Then we have our outside shower, the option of hot and cold water. Basically this guy here, so you can actually stop the flow of water or reduce the flow of water. So you can try to get a longer shower. This guy, your water heater is only 6 gallons. You're just outmatched. We'll talk a little more about that when we go inside. Next, we're gonna have that black tank flush I was speaking about. So with the black tank flush, I do always recommend that you wanna have a pressure regulator on the water spigot. From there, go out and buy yourself a black hose. Black tank, black hose, it keeps it simple, okay? From there, then you're gonna hook up, make sure that your sewer hose is on and your valve is open before you run water, okay? Especially if your tank is full already. If you go to hook this up and then you go ahead and turn on your water, you're liable to get water to come out of 2 places in your coach, either the toilet or the vent stack on the roof. Both situations are going to be nasty and bad. Okay, so always make sure, and that's what that caution sticker there is for, is to tell you to make sure that your termination valve is open before you start putting water to it. When you're done, you're seeing water coming out clear from that clear elbow, you're going to shut the water off at the spigot and then unhook your hose from there. The reason why is because on the back side of this, there's a hose that can be this long to like this long that goes to a plastic check valve. Okay, but that water's got to go somewhere. There was no pressure to push that water through that check valve. And then you got your outside sprayer here. That is located in our front storage compartment, which we will come on over here and I'll show you that real quick. So inside here, we're going to have that sprayer right here. This is going to be that pretty much your screen for the back part. And then you have the options, your manual crank option for the tongue jack. All right, next we're going to go ahead and step on inside. As we step inside, right here to the left is where your fire extinguisher is going to be located. But then our control panel is going to be located right up top there. So right up here, pretty much it'll tell you the status of the battery. And then you got your fresh tank, so I still have about 1/3 of water in there. You got your black tank and your gray tank. From there, you got the water pump. You're only using the water pump if you're using the fresh water tank. If you're hooked to city water, you don't need to use that guy. This here says water heater. That's for the gas option for the water heater, which it is gas only. And then you got tank heaters. What that is pretty much little 12-volt heating pads on the bottom of the tanks. Once they get below a certain temperature, they got built-in thermostats. They will automatically kick on as long as that switch is on. Then we're going to have our lights. First one's for our ceiling lights. Our other one's going to be for our awning and radio or speaker lights. This guy here is going to be for our awning. Oh, One thing you do got to make sure of is that this door is perpendicular to the awning. That way the arm As you see, we do have a little bit of a breeze today. The wind just shut our compartment door for us. Nice, good, still new. Generally what you want is that flap to point downward. All right, so when we step out here, it even tells you, pull here to adjust the pitch. So what you can do is you can kind of angle it, and it's meant to be as a shade protectant. They do recommend when the camper is being unattended that you should always bring your awning in. The reason why, too strong gust of wind can cause damage to both the awning and the camper if you are not careful. If you're not careful, see? I'm used to opening the door all the way. All right, so we'll go ahead and bring that guy in since those winds are a little breezy today. We don't want to leave it out. And as you see, this guy is not the fastest guy in the world, so please make sure you do got plenty of time. And this guy's actually moving a little quicker than most of them. That's a nice plus. And most times you can usually hear it like tap the side of the coach when it comes all the way in. That one's a little quieter. All right, and then our other one here is to bring our slide room in and out. Oh, give it a second to reset. You'll hear a little whining sound when it's all the way out. That's when it tells you want to stop. Then down below that's where our solar controller is. Basically what this does is it helps monitors the battery. And once the batteries get below a certain level, if you're not plugged into Sure Power, it'll allow the surge from the panels to come through to charge the batteries. Once the batteries are full, it cuts that surge off so that way the batteries ain't being overcharged. Can tell you now that a lot of the times that you got the solar panels, if you have your fridge going, the 12 volt fridge, they can struggle to try to keep going with that 12 volt fridge. Just please be mindful of that. All right, next we're gonna have our bedroom area. We got our light switch right here for the bedroom lights. Each side has a 110 hookup and USB, and they are GFCI protected. You got your little night stands on each side as well. And I might have you sneak around back over there to that side for me, just so you can kind of see. But they don't have hinges on here, but there is some storage underneath here, like a little shelving on each side, so you can like set your shoes there, or if you want to hide anything inside here, like snacks and stuff, so the kids wouldn't get them. Great place for it. They do have TV mount here, so you can put a TV in. And these guys are located through the coach. You got one in here, one in the living room area, one back in the deck area. Each side does have a little closet space on each side. And then you also got storage up above. They don't put no hinges on this guy, so make sure you don't clonk your head. And then each side does have its own individual reader light. This guy here is going to be a fire exit window. If you cannot make your way to the entry door, you have a way to get out. This guy basically is on a hinge. So they say you would pull the screen out, but then this whole window will fling open so you're able to get out. I always recommend, I don't give a darn about the screen. I'd rather replace the screen than hear that someone got some burns. Just put your foot through that screen to get out. And then these guys here is what holds your doors in place. And they got magnetic latches on each side. Just like so. You know, we'll just leave it like that. All right, then we got basically your little cushioned area here, lights on each side. This guy is here, basically will come off. Stay. Don't want to stay.
Cushions are not cooperating.
This guy will come up, you flip these guys out, and then this guy will come forward. Sits down like so. Flip this guy down. And then you'll put your back cushions there to kind of fill that void. Notice these guys, they're starting to make these guys a little more snug fitted. And if you need to be able to adjust your feet, you can actually just pull these little guys right here. Looks like they went from swap to something else there instead of an R key. But you can pull these pins, you can adjust these feet however you see fit. All right. Lights, another USB hookup. All right, so now we're going to come to a nicer, newer feature.
It's my favorite.
So this guy is actually an omni, I guess a good way to put it is an omni directional usage for the freezer and fridge. So you can either open it from this side. Oh wait, but there's more.
You can open it from the other side.
You can open it from the other side. They do recommend you only open one side at a time. Don't try to open the freezer on this side, but then the fridge on this side. And that's what that warning sticker there is for. That's why we have not took that off. But basically, both sides are going to be the same way.
It's magical.
Very nice feature. Got the manual in there and some of the other pieces that was in the basically in the box with the fridge. The factory usually just puts everything in there, although they may use their own parts from the factory. So in that bag, you might see screws that's supposed to be put in here. The factory uses their own screws. All right, as we come through our little hallway here, we're going to have our thermostat. This guy here is going to control our front air conditioner. And this guy is a lot of button pushing. So we're going to go ahead and start in the off position. From there, you're going to have fan low and fan high. And that's just going to be the fan that would run on the air conditioner. Then you have cool high and cool low. And these two settings here, the air conditioner will just continuously run. It does not matter what you have the temperature set to. They'll just continuously run. Then you got cool low auto, cool high auto, where that would shut on and off to your desired set temp. And then the last option is your heat or the furnace, which is also gas only. I'll probably move too fast for the system, so we'll see if it'll stay running for us. But like I said, these arrow keys here adjust your temperature up and down. Down below is going to be our LP/carbon monoxide detector. It is recommended this guy should be tested every 9 to 14 days. And to test that, all you simply do is push that button. Okay, it'll beep again here. And we went back to green. So we just performed our test. So we know that it's properly working. But you do want to test this guy every 9 to 14 days. And then these guys usually have a life expectancy of about 7 to 10 years. I have seen these guys go out before that. Okay, so you do always just want to make sure you do properly test that. Okay? We'll come back here to our bathroom in just a minute. When we come in here, you got 110 USB hookups on both sides. We got the light switch right here for the lights in the back. This air conditioner is manually controlled. So basically you'll turn this guy. So when you look at it, it's going to say low fan, low fan. The reason for that is because there is an aftermarket option to where you can install a heat strip or a heat pump on it. And then it'll come with a new knob that when you go to turn this on, instead of just saying low fan, it'll say low heat. But basically you just turn low fan, high fan, low cool, high cool. And then you just adjust your temperatures with this back one. All right, so then next, you got the rest of our party deck. As you've seen, with these guys, like I was saying, these little Velcro straps right here, you fold this guy up like so, and these straps feed through. As I say that, I make it more difficult than it has to be sometimes. It'll go through our fabric here, just like so, and then it secures the door so it isn't smacking all over everything. All right, so I'm going to show you. You got basically it's on the both sides, but you got your upper mattresses or your upper bunk beds, and then you got your lower seating area. Basically, everything's located right here on this side. At this time, it was all put up. We had a customer check to make sure that his side-by-side was going to fit in here. He had a 4-seater Razor, which this virtual is for you. But if you are watching this online, we know that a 4-seater Razor will fit in here. It is just very snug. Like all this stuff does have to get removed. Basically, it comes right up almost to this wall. I mean, it takes up almost this entire area. But you pull your pins.
But it fits.
But it does fit. You do have to remove. You got to remove this gate here. The nice thing is that you're able to tap it with a hammer. You're able to pull these pins out. All right. So for the seating area, this guy here. Make sure these guys lock in. Try not to pinch your fingers. But this guy here will just sit down like so. And then there's our seating. And then, like I said, the table for this back area is located right there. And then for the bed, or the upper bunk bed, you're just gonna, once again, pull your pins. It'll let me. I think I had a hard time with this guy the other day too. Let me see if I can try to relieve some of the pressure on that. There we go. This guy's pretty snug tight. But then this guy here basically folds right down, just like so. A lot of pinch points on these guys, so watch your hands when you're going to operate these. Right here, this glides. See how that glides? Bringing it down, if your hand's there, you're liable to pinch your hand there. Or up top, same with the bottom. There is a lot of pinch points. As you see, you've got some shades there for over the windows. Those are just snap buttons, so you're able to take them off if you wanted to. Things along that nature. Like I was saying with these guys here, you're able to fold it out like so. Or you can even go the other way if you wanted to. Either way you want. Alright, so right over here, you got some storage areas here. But then down here at the bottom, as you see, I got a panel removed. So basically, this is where you're going to bypass and unbypass your water heater. Right now, they are actually considered to be in the bypass position. So they are pointing in line with that white hose. Basically, the antifreeze would come through. Instead of going into the water heater, it's going to go around so you can winterize the hot side. I'm going to step in here real quick, and since it is summertime, we're going to go ahead and turn these guys to that position. Just heard a little bit of water go in there because that was water still in the lines. But then that's all you got to basically do. So there is also another, and this guy just sits right inside here, just like so. And we got our screws here to put that back on. So there is still another valve you would turn when you go to winterize. So when you go to winterize, a nice rule of thumb is there's 3 valves that have to be turned. Excuse me. And I'll show you that here in just a minute. Basically, that third valve is exactly where you're going to winterize your coach from. They do provide also, excuse me, I'm sorry, storage bins. This guy over here is going to be your fuse control panel box. So basically, everything that requires sure power is going to be on your breakers. Everything that operates off the battery is your fuses. And they do have everything right here labeled for you. Sorry, a lot of talking there. Throat's drying up on me. All right, as we step into the bathroom, you're going to have your GFCI. So if the outlets in the coach ain't working, they got this GFCI sticker on them. Check and make sure this guy hasn't been tripped. Then we got our faucet, storage area, storage down below. And then we have our shower here. Once again, you're going to have that button there to reduce the flow of water. This guy here shuts and locks. I always like to do this as a test because, you know, when we're showering, we're sudsing up, your elbow's going to hit that guy. So when you are in the inside and you're ready to get out, you do have to bring it, you have to pull it forward just a little bit, but pull it towards you to release the lock, because it does lock. And then we're just going to help guide that guy in. And then we're going to have our toilet. For our toilet, you got your pedestal on this side. You would lightly press on the pedestal to add water so you can do your business. All the ways down is going to flush. But you always do want to make sure there's some kind of liquid inside the bowl. If you put water in there, it's nice, but water, once again, will get stagnant and bad. Can actually start to stain the bowl to a yellowish tint. I know a lot of people sometimes use antifreeze when they're going to be storing the camper. They just want to have some liquid in there. They'll put some antifreeze in there because that antifreeze is kind of slick, so it creates a lubricant. So it helps that seal in there from getting dry rotted and brittle. When that happens, basically the toilet won't hold water so you can do your business. Another thing I also like to say is that for the cleaner, if you take some non-stick cook spray, spray the bowl of that toilet, it'll help everything slide down easier and it makes it easier clean for the cleaner. The only thing I would like to say is don't confuse kitchen Pam with bathroom Pam. It's a little unsanitary. That was my little tidbit joke. Hope y'all liked it.
Never good to confuse your Pams.
That's right. Never confuse your Pams. All right, so then next we got our kitchen sink area. You got your little countertop or your cover, but it's also your cutting board. Or if you're trying to rinse some vegetables off, things along that nature. Do always watch your head right here. I've already hit my head 5 times on this thing, and I just hit it just a second ago. So always watch your head on this guy. If you're going to be taller than me, you ain't probably going to have to worry about it as much. Or if you're underneath here and you go to jump up too fast, you will hit your head. But you got pretty much space, cabinet space up top. We got our trays here. This is going to be for our convection microwave / oven down here at the bottom. Basically, it's pretty self-explanatory. The manual for that is actually going to be located right inside here, so you can get a general good idea about how that works. I do always like to say set the time. If you come back, the timer ain't set on there. It shows that there was a power failure at the campsite. We do want to look and see if it was from the campground or from the electric company. For our stove, you always do want to make sure that this is lifted up. You got your light and your fan. Basically though, with this guy, you have to turn this on for your spark igniter. That's not going to stay running very long because we don't have the propane on. Give us about another 5, or usually about 8-10 seconds. It'll usually end up shutting off. As you see, we're already starting to lose that pressure and it's gone. If this button is not on, as you hear, there is no clicking. But it doesn't mean that somebody or knucklehead friends sitting right here like this and they're sliding around, just hanging out. Oh, here, let me grab that. And they can turn a knob, okay? Even though this is not on, this can still allow propane to get into your coach, okay? So, if your LP / carbon monoxide does start going off, you do want to take emergency precautions. First thing you want to do, the first person out the door is going to turn off the propane canisters. The second person is trying to get everything that breathes out of this camper. People, dogs, your fish named Steve, whatever. You just want to get everything out. You're going to get 50 feet away. Well, hold on. Open up windows. We are not trying to create a spark, so we're not trying to open and turn on our vent fans, anything along that. We're opening windows. Then we're going to get out of the coach, get 50 feet away for 15 minutes. One person's going to come back in, and this is where they want to check. I always say check the stove first. If it ain't the stove, the only other place that propane actually is connected and hooked up inside the coach is the furnace. It's always going to be one of those two main sources. Please be mindful of propane. I cannot stress that enough to you, to please be mindful of propane. Next, we got our owner's bag. Basically, inside the owner's bag has the manuals for a majority of the appliances in the coach. Here, it's even got an appliance info sheet, which is really nice. So if something happens, they're liable to ask you, hey, can you get me the serial number for whatever broke? A lot of that's going to be on this sheet right here, and it makes it a lot easier. These guys here is if you decided you wanted to remove your barbecue grill and set it on a picnic table. They have a little feet that comes with them. So, I'm trying to see if I see our sticker. Forest River does not put manuals in for their coach specifically. For that, you would go online. There's a Forest River app you can download. From there, you'll put your camper information in, and it downloads like a PDF file for your camper. It tells you about it. All right, so then next down here, let me see if I got my phone on me, because we're going to need a flashlight, because they like to stuff everything in the smallest space possible. So this guy here is your hose that you would stick into your antifreeze. Either you get a bucket or you just swap out the jugs. But back there is going to be another valve you're going to turn. Right now that valve is in line with the fresh water tank. So if we turn on the water pump, we're able to get water coming out of that guy. Whenever we're ready to use this, we're just going to turn that knob where it's in line with this hose. And then you'll be ready to use the water pump to winterize. So I always like to recommend, when you go to winterize your coach, if you open up those low points, go through, open up all your faucets, gets all that pressure out, but then go ahead and turn that pump on for a couple minutes, for about 2-3 minutes. Let it run to try to push any excess water out for you. And then you're going to be able to winterize your coach with a lot less antifreeze. It is also important that you make sure that water heater is bypassed. If not, you're going to go through quite a bit of antifreeze, because originally you're going to put 6 gallons of antifreeze in that water heater, and you really just don't want to do that. Ooh. And then we got our little bench seating here that has straps to keep them secured. From there, we have made our way around the coach. Hopefully this was knowledgeable and informational for you. If you guys do have any kind of questions, please feel free to call us, and we'll do our best to answer those for you over the phone. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.